So I've done the wing tips, so the reinforcement on the underside on both, and they turned out really nice actually, because that is really strong, which is obviously required if you're going to tip launch or discus launch it. That's what you want. I don't think I mentioned it, but what I did was when I glued the under side of the wingtip on, I used the drill bit again, and used that just to position the piece, and of course I used my square again just to hold it all in place before just little clamps, just to hold that together whilst it dried. So now I'm going to go on to setting the angles on each wing panel, because I'm going for the polyhedral wing. So that means I'm going to have to put a cut in there and make that angle. Now the thing is what angle is required. Now here gives a couple of measurements on the plan. So from the centre, 15mm to the first joint, and then to the tip, or that part of the tip, 50mm. So you might think, okay, because I want to lay the wing panel flat, you might think, okay, so I just need to set that to 35mm. Well, I'm just going to show you something. I'm just going to draw a line. Let's just wait around my thumb a bit. Okay, so there's that line there. I'm just going to get a square, and what I'm going to do is just line it up and just draw up to the same point. Okay, so that is going to be the distance I need to set to get it the same. And if you look, I'm actually measuring 27mm. Okay, so had I set it to 35, that would have meant that this would have been raised another 7mm. So it's just something to watch out for when you see these sorts of plans, is don't just dive in and just go, oh yeah, 50 minus 15 is 35. If you're planning to lay that wing panel flat like I've got with the ruler, then that is going to be what I measured, 27mm instead. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just do a cut at the right point. So I'll measure that. I'm going to use the razor saw, so I've got that, so it gives a nice straight cut. And what I do in this situation is with a sheeted wing like this. I've done this with a build of a biplane a few years ago. Is that you don't cut all the way through and then join the two pieces together. Just cut almost all the way through, and then you just lift the tip up to the required measurement, and it will basically just fold up. So that's how I'm going to do this now. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead now and just measure from the centre to where the joint is. So it's a nice round 170mm. So I'm just going to measure that now. Okay, I'll just use my square. Okay, so that's where I need to cut. Alright. So what I'm going to do, just position it so I can get to it. I'm just going to try and do this on camera. Okay, so the idea is I'm just not going to avoid cutting all the way through, so I'm going to just start off cutting now. So I'm just drawing it through. I'm just being very careful. Two things: keep it nice and straight against the square. So just taking my time. Right, so you might be able to see where I've cut, but I haven't gone all the way through. So I'm just going to go a bit more down on the front. So on the leading edge it seems as though I've got to just go a bit further deep, but try and avoid doing any more from the back. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so basically I'm just going to hold it flat on the table and just lift it up. You might hear a bit of a crack. There you go, you hear that crack? Okay, so I reckon I'm going to have to do a bit of a wider cut because I'm not going to get that under there. So I've got another razor saw that has a wider blade on it. Just going to put some weight on that just to hold that flat again. So just get it in the groove. There we go. Alright, hold it square, and I'm just going to try and make the cut a little bit thicker. Okay, so you can actually see there's some balsa dust there. So if I try the same again, now because it's a wider gap, I can lift this piece up a bit further, but you can see still I can't quite get enough there. So what I tend to do now is just start sort of very carefully, either way, just go in at a slight angle. It just starts opening the area up a little bit more. So you see I'm going in from either side at a slight angle. Right, I'm just going to blow that out. I think I'm just going to just take a bit more from the leading edge area because that's where it's thickest. Right, let's have a look. So the wider the cut, the more you can pull. There you go, it cracks even more. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so it may be, so can you see there, it's just simply cracked it, but it's not split apart. Okay, so that's my 25mm, little bit of block. So what I'll be able to do is perhaps just go to the front and be able to position it in just the point where at the front just where they show is 27mm. So I've just come out a little bit more. So you can see what happens now is that when I put some glue in there and I lift it up, it's going to make a nice joint. Right, so what I've done, it looks like roughly where it lines up where the peg hole is, that needs to be 27mm, so I've got that. Right, I'm just going to put a little bit of cling film underneath and then glue this.